Hello and welcome to the League One Lowdown podcast with me, Callum. As always, for the preview / review podcast, as it is this week, I'm joined by Sam. As we're recording this, good evening, Sam. I suppose it's evening, isn't it? How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you, Callum. Not too bad. Yeah, I suppose it probably is evening at, 4:30 on a Thursday evening now. Pretty getting dark outside now. Winter has arrived.
I love it. And it's part of, like, it's that kind of time of the year where the matches start in the sunlight and then it's dark by the full-time whistle sort of. So I quite like that period of football. It's quite nice. But I would say we're not going to talk too much about the games that have just happened because it didn't end particularly well for me as a Lincoln fan. But we'll touch over that after we go over the predictions game that we do. So as Sam says, if you're new here and you don't know what we do, we like to have a prediction game. And if I lose, then I'll have to buy a Leighton Orient shirt. And if Sam loses, he'll have to wear a Lincoln City shirt. I think we should up it to full kit, full kit wanker status. We should do that. I would say go into work dressed as a full kit wanker, but I feel like the people at my job, maybe they wouldn't approve of that. But well, do you want to go over the results from the double prediction round that we've just had?
Yeah. So if you didn't watch the League One is Back with a Bang podcast last week, the scores on the doors were I had 76 points and Callum had 72. Obviously, we've had 2 rounds this week. In total, we'll go through in total, as we'll be here for ages. I got 11 points, so it's 3 points for a correct score, 1 point for a correct outcome. And Callum got 14 over 2 match days. So it's a pretty low scoring week for both of us this week.
That is shocking. That is a very terrible. Poor week. Like, normally, I think I can't remember what the highest any of us have got, but I think there's been some weeks where we've been getting like 20s. So for 2 game weeks to get an 11 and a 14 is
poor.
Shocking.
Yeah, the Tuesday night games were especially really poor. But we did get 3 correct scores on Tuesday night between us. If you're putting an accumulator on for whatever reason, then between us, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games out of 12. We got the correct outcome, which isn't too bad on Tuesday night, considering it's a Tuesday night and we don't put as much effort, I suppose, into a Tuesday night research because we just don't have time, unfortunately. But the scores now are I have 88 points and Callum has 86. So the battle is well and truly on as we head pretty much to the quarter way point of the season now.
So it's a bit tighter. I'm looking forward to that. We'll have to wait and see. Let's have a look then at as we're recording it last night's games. No fixtures on a Wednesday, so we're safe to go over all of them. I suppose the first one that I suppose we kind of have to touch on is Burton against Wycombe. That game, obviously. Well, I suppose managerless Burton Albion now. Your thoughts, Sam, on that?
I mean, I think it's been coming for a little while, hasn't it? Now you're 11 games into a season, you're still without a win. You're now rock bottom. You've lost, I think it's 7 in a row now. You had that period where you're grinding out points and you're thinking, okay, maybe they can nick a win and some confidence builds from that, but they've just gradually got worse. And you'd expect the team to start gelling. They haven't really gelled. The only bright spark that I can see out of Burton at the moment is Danilo Orsi. They seem to have a goal scorer, so it's tightening up at the other end of the pitch. Conceding 24 goals is the second worst in League One behind Peterborough, surprisingly, who have conceded 25. But even now, Cambridge have won 2 in a row, really piled on the pressure. You're 7 points already from safety after 11 games. And if you get any further adrift, your season's kind of a write-off already. In spells, they played quite well and they showed character against Wycombe, coming back from behind twice. So there is that fight in the team. But it's what I said at the time when they did the recruitment. It was a bit scattergun, and how many of the players they actually bought, I think bar 3 or 4, were actually League One ready anyway. And Mark Robinson's record exactly wasn't the best when he managed Wimbledon. I think his record, I read somewhere, that he hasn't won in 32 League One matches he's managed. He's managed. So it wasn't exactly an appointment that probably blew your socks off in the first place.
I mean, it's obviously one. It's we should touch on Wycombe. Obviously, incredible strength. I suppose they go 1-0 up and then break back, and then 2-1, and then 2-2, and then obviously get that winner in the 81st minute through Udo. But yeah, Burton Albion, I suppose, is the story we kind of have to focus on then. I suppose in certain times. Your thoughts on who is running to be? I still want to say running to be the next manager. Who's in the running. There's a few interesting ones that I want to point out. Gary Rowett, I think that would be an incredible appointment, but I'll say it now. And don't get me wrong, I would love to see Gary Rowett back at Burton because he was the manager as I was growing up, and I always remember Gary Rowett at Burton, and that anyway. But for nostalgia reasons, I'd love Gary Rowett to be back at Burton, but that's just not going to happen. I was saying before, if that appointment happens, it's probably the greatest appointment in League One history. Adam Hinshelwood and Mark Kennedy making up the top three. Mark Kennedy just to me feels like a really weird. I mean, I don't see the reasons why you would want him to come to you. Liam Richardson and John Brayford. Apparently, John Brayford quite closely linked as well. And the other one for me that I quite like is Darren Stride, due to a family connection. I don't know Darren personally, but I'm reliably informed that it's my mum's best friend's relation or something. They at least share a surname, and they're both from the Burton area. So I assume that I have a connection to him, albeit not biological or anything like that. But I have a connection to Darren Stride, so that would be quite fun.
Yes, that's quite an interesting fact you've got there. Out of all of them, I can't see Gary Rowett being manager.
It's not realistic, is it?
Highly unlikely he drops to League One. Adam Hinshelwood's doing an exceptional job at York. I can't see him jumping ship now because it's a possibility that they'll actually be in the same division next year. And I think York will actually have a bigger playing budget than Burton. Mark Kennedy, I can't see that happening. It's not like he's performing miracles currently at Swindon. Whether that be to their off the field issues is another story. John Brayford is, I suppose, the safe pair of hands, considering he'd know the playing squad. Liam Richardson, I actually think would be quite a good appointment for League One. Yes, he struggled really badly at Rotherham, but it's Rotherham in the Championship, and nobody went there and actually pulled up any trees. The other name that I quite saw on there was Pete Wild. He was linked to that job in the summer. Obviously, left Barrow in a bit of a hissy fit, it seems, in May. He's without a job, so wouldn't actually require any compensation. And if they want to be a bit optimistic and go for something who's probably a safe pair of hands, you go for someone like Gareth Ainsworth. If they can lure him in. He's currently without a job still after leaving QPR. I think there's enough managers out there for Burton to go for, I think.
There's enough decent ones, isn't there?
Yeah.
I will just say two of my favourite ones that are currently linked. Mark Hughes apparently is 25-1. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank as well, 25-1. And one name that I'm surprised has kind of gone under the radar here, but Dino Marmria, who we had the pleasure of talking to just a couple of weeks ago. To me, it feels like that would be the perfect fit, right? I mean, obviously, if you only have to listen to that podcast to kind of get the sense of the type of League One team he wants to manage, and you get the sense that he'd relish this opportunity. I think he was kind of eyeing up the Cambridge job, but that seems to have, I don't want to say become safe, but they've won a couple of games, so all hail Cambridge United. But Dino Marmria, what was your thoughts? I know we're kind of biased because we spoke to him recently, but do you think it'd be a decent appointment?
Yeah, if you look at his track record when he goes into a club that he's struggling, very, very rarely, if ever, has failed. When he went to Burton in the first instance, they were in a very similar position and did exceptionally well with them. He kept them up. I felt he's a little bit harshly treated in the second season because they had a lot of injuries. But I don't see, and he's obviously got a good connection with Burton, with the fans. I think obviously it's now under different ownership as now Burton as well. So Dino would
there's
probably
no
be a safe
reason
pair
why
of hands.
not. I think there's no reason why not. It's just whether it's what the owners want, I guess.
Yeah, he's a safe pair of hands, and they'd have more of a chance of staying up if they had someone like him in.
Oh, yeah, it'd be an interesting appointment, but we'll move away from Burton and onto Charlton now for a game that had late drama. I suppose this one had it all. It was 1-1 going into the 90th minute. Charlton thought they'd won it in the 93rd, but Burnley grabbing that 95th minute. Barnsley, I should say, not Burnley. I think I was getting my leagues confused there. Barnsley grabbing a 95th minute equaliser. It's now 2 wins in 9 for Charlton. I don't want to say alarm bells ringing, but again, Charlton, they were a team that we thought were doing really, really well, weren't they? And now they've just kind of come off the gas a bit.
It doesn't overly surprise me. When you looked at the statistics of how they were performing when they're opening 5 games, when I think they won 4 of them, there was going to be a point where performances were going to catch up with them. And it's a very similar story to Charlton of what we had last year. They started like a house on fire. They then fell away. And around this period of the season, they started drawing lots. And then we all know what happened. We were talking about them in a relegation battle at the end of last season until Nathan Jones come in and managed to eke out results with them. I just don't think Charlton create enough for me. And I think defensively they're okay. And there's no shame conceding to Barnsley because Barnsley are exceptional going forward. If we're looking at expected points, Charlton would sit 9th on 18 points. So the only team actually with their expected points as their actual points are Charlton. So I don't think they're a team, in my mind, with performances that would finish top 6. Let's put it that way. I think they're a team that would finish mid-table, which for a club like Charlton and a club of stature of Charlton is unacceptable, personally. I think they should be fighting for top 6, as many clubs should be in League One nowadays. But there's something, I don't know if it's whether they're lacking a proper number 9. I know they've got Matty Godden. There's just something not right with Charlton going forward. And I don't know if it's the manager's approach, because I don't watch enough of Charlton, or it's their out of possession work when they're in transition is not good enough either.
When Cambridge United are ahead of you in the form table, and you're right, the form table's back, everyone. I don't know if you've missed it. Thank you, soccerstats.com. Please sponsor us. But when you lower in the form table, then Cambridge United over the last 6 games, I suppose you're in a little bit of trouble. Although that also applies to Leyton Orient and the side we're going to talk about next, which is Crawley Town, who got their first win. At work, we were saying that this is probably the perfect game for Lincoln, who were looking to bounce back from defeat at the weekend against Birmingham. And then, well, it was a horrible first half in the fact that literally nothing happened. I suppose Lincoln also they should have had a penalty or 2. But I suppose you always say that, don't you? Their first win under Rob Elliott, a result that not many people saw coming, Sam.
No, I think if you predicted a Crawley win, you'd have probably been a bit off your nut, to be honest, if you were going to pick, especially to score 3 goals against the Lincoln side, who have been pretty renowned for being pretty solid defensively.
Yeah, especially away from home. It's their first defeat since New Year's Day away. So
yeah, I was trying to find that stat and I couldn't find it anywhere. I thought it was like 20 odd away games. I think you were unbeaten.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it is a club record since New Year's Day. So there you go.
But for Crawley, I think we've just got to give them a lot of credit. Obviously, it was probably kind of a free hit for them in terms of nobody is expecting them to actually get anything from this game. And Lincoln may have gone there thinking, oh, this is kind of the perfect opportunity for us to go there and win. And you can get a bit complacent. So it could work in favour of Lincoln in terms of having a reality check. And it's very good for Crawley because now they have the confidence to, in my opinion, beat one of the top 10 sides in League One. So they can think, oh, we can compete at this level under this manager, whose style of play is not completely different to what they are used to. And they obviously made a good signing, I think it was last week, of Tyrese John Jules as well, a player that I've watched numerous times, mainly when he was at Ipswich. A really direct, can play on the wing, can play through the centre, direct, pacey. So I think that's quite a good signing as well. So more positivity coming out of Crawley recently. And now they're only 1 point from safety as well, which is another psychological boost for them.
I think they kind of out-Lincolned Lincoln. They weren't hugely good on the press, but Lincoln are that's normally how Lincoln play off the ball, and then just Crawley. Just as soon as Lincoln started to become a bit flustered, they were just unstructured, and just Crawley.
Yes, I've also noticed you had more possession, and I had a look at a stat, and you barely win when you have more possession.
Yeah,
under Skubala. You're a much
it's
better.
just the Skubala way, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, you're much better counter-attacking than you are trying to control a game of football.
Yeah, an interesting game and one that leaves much to ponder for the Imps. Elsewhere, Peterborough beating Blackpool 5-1. This game, I kind of couldn't really believe what I was seeing. I don't want to say it was weird. I saw Peterborough go, was it 2-0 up and then 2-1, and you're just like, well, Peterborough throwing this one away. And then literally 60 seconds after I started thinking that, it went to 3-1 and then 5-1 in the end. Yeah. It's Blackpool now winless in 4 for all this hype around Steve Bruce. Doesn't seem to really be there at the minute. It's not happening.
No, it's obviously Steve Bruce hasn't been in the dugout the past couple of games because of the tragic incident with his family. But it does seem a little. I don't know how because if you look at a club like Bristol City, where another tragic incident sort of happened with Liam Manning, that club seemed to galvanise together and get performances like they were 2-0 down the other night and got it back to 2-2. That hasn't happened with Blackpool, as you say. I'm now unbeaten with that winless in 4, and they've sort of plummeted down a very tight, shall we say, mid-table very quickly and gone back to sort of the way in their ways they were before Steve Bruce. Obviously, we don't know how, and we hope Steve is okay. But on the pitch, it was more of a Blackpool performance we were used to under Critchley in terms of extremely open, mistakes everywhere. But for Peterborough, it's more of the Peterborough we know, isn't it? Let's just go and score 5 and hope they don't score 4. Near enough. Scoring 25 goals now and conceding 25. I mean, if you want value for money, you know who you're going to be watching for the rest of the season.
Should say, of course, our thoughts with everyone affected by that. Obviously, it's not a very nice, situation at all, and obviously our thoughts with everyone affected in that one. We'll move on to Cambridge now, and they've got 2 wins in a row, and 2-0 wins in a row. Pressure kind of a bit off Gary Monk. We said he needed a bit of a miracle. He seems to have had his prayers answered. I'll stay away from more religious puns, but there you go.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he'd won 2 games before these 2 games, and them 2 games he won were both in a row. So it's the second time they've won 2 in a row under Gary Monk, but he's only won 4 games. So it'd be interesting now if they go to Burton, which is a humongous game,
huge game
on Saturday, in terms of who's going to probably stay up, to be honest. But 2-2 was against 2 sides who are one of 2 of the most solid sides defensively in the league. They're not the most expansive, which is probably quite good for Cambridge because defensively they are very poor. But Wigan had the best defence in the league, and so did Stevenage. They are still the 2nd and 3rd best behind Exeter and Wrexham, conceding only 9 goals apiece. So they're probably the 2 best teams for Cambridge to play in terms of they don't score goals because they're the 2 league's lowest scorers other than Cambridge themselves. Stevenage have a lot of defensive injuries as well. And Alex Arell described that performance as, I can't remember the word, but it was completely uncharacteristic of Stevenage. They got a couple of bookings as well, which now means they've got no defenders for Saturday. But it was huge for Gary Monk because 4 points now from safety. The table looks a little bit rosier for them. The team now has some confidence. And the Lunderloo getting off the mark for Cambridge as well can only be a good thing, especially if you're forwards scoring goals. And 2 clean sheets. You can't go wrong. If you don't concede, you don't lose a football game, which sounds very Michael Owen of me to say, but clean sheets and draws will keep you up in League One.
And if you want to hear more of me and Michael Owen, then remember to click subscribe, follow, turn on notifications wherever you are, so you don't miss an episode of the League One lowdown here on the Deck Network. We should finally touch on, I suppose, the one finally a bit more in detail. Rotherham. We kind of expected them to turn around, and there were, I don't want to say a few signs of that, but I think they got like a couple of wins, and you're just thinking, okay, maybe they're going to ball their way and win a few 1-0, 2-0s, but they've lost 1-0. I don't want to really touch on this one because it fills you with happiness, Sam. But I'll let you talk about this one, and I'll turn my headphones down a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's I saw some comments about Steve Evans on social media, and I think the Rotherham fans have kind of had it with him now. some of the comments towards the journalist in his post-match were signs of a man who's now starting to feel the pressure. He came out and blasted, I think it was Cameron Humphreys, first off, saying he should have scored at the back post, which the ball come over two of our defenders and he is unmarked at the back post, but it comes at him quickly. So, and then he lost his marker for the goal. But I've watched that goal back about 3 times. It's not Cameron Humphreys' fault. One of our players stands on the edge of the box as the 2 defenders are retreating, and he just stands his ground and sort of hugs the 2 Rotherham defenders trying to get back. So both our centre halves are unmarked in the middle of the box. So I'm not going to fully blame Cameron Humphreys. I'm going to blame very clever play from us to win that. But he called the interviewer very, I don't like your negative comments near enough.
I don't get that at all.
You're 17th in League One and a complete squad overhaul with high expectations going into the season. Other than that unmarked header, you were really poor. You have no inject of pace in the play. It's extremely one-dimensional, and the fans are probably bored of hearing the same nonsense out of his mouth. We need to be more ruthless. And to be fair, he does have a part of a point, because if we refer again to my XG table, Rotherham United should actually be 5th based on expected points. So the stats do back up his points fairly well in terms of they need to be more ruthless. But that all comes down to confidence, which is bred from a manager, in my opinion. And if your manager is coming out and blasting you in press conferences, that's not going to do anything for your confidence. They do now only have 1 fit centre-half in Cameron Humphreys for the weekend, because Zach Jules went off injured and Jamie McCart didn't start because he went off injured in the warm-up. So everything is going against Steve Evans. Do I feel sorry for him? Not really. I think he brings it on himself with the way he approaches certain situations. He never ever takes the blame himself, which when you are 17th with a squad that has many promotion winners in, you kind of have to take some of the blame. He doesn't adapt his style of play. So yeah, I think the comments to the journalist were a sign of a man very much under pressure.
I mean, we see it all the time, don't we? Managers blaming journalists when they don't really know what else to talk about. We'll go through the other games then. Birmingham, a goal almost 3 minutes into, and then with 3 minutes left. If Jason Mansfield could have waited a couple of more seconds before hitting that penalty, it'd have been perfect. But they won 2-0 against Bolton in a game that I'm sure I've played on FIFA 12. Bristol 1, Shrewsbury Town 0, Exeter 1, Reading 2. That game, I think that game kind of shocked me a bit. I was surprised to see Reading go to Exeter and pick up 3 points, but there we go. What are the games? There was Stockport 1, Northampton Town 1. That game with a bit of late drama, an 87th minute penalty and a 93rd minute equaliser. So there you go. Wigan 1, Mansfield Town 2, and then Wrexham 0, Huddersfield Town 0. I think that's probably a point that probably benefits Huddersfield Town a bit more than it does Wrexham. But as always, we'll do our fantasy EFL pick for the week, and then leave you with some trivia over for the next couple of minutes. But Sam, who is your EFL fantasy pick of the week?
Funnily enough, I've actually gone for a Rotherham player. Funnily enough, I've gone for Malik Wilkes of Rotherham, mainly because Stevenage don't have a defence for this weekend. And if we're going off statistics, I'm going to back Steve Evans' team to score a couple of goals this weekend, and he seems the live wire in that Rotherham front line that can create and score goals. So I have gone for Malik Wilkes.
Interesting. I'm going to go with Tyler Binden, I believe it is, the centre back. I just think in terms of this one, probably most likely that they're going to keep a clean sheet. I should say. I just think it's the most likely for Reading. I don't know what it is. I just kind of think that coming into this weekend, and we'll talk more about it in the coming up. But Bristol Rovers not really offering a huge amount going forward, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's my that's my pick. I'm not entirely convinced because there doesn't seem to be too many games where it's I don't know, where it's like kind of obvious who the winner's going to be. Like, there's
I get
not
what you mean.
too many obvious games, really, is there?
No, it's quite a competitive weekend, shall we say. I don't think we've got, other than probably Mansfield, Birmingham, I probably as a standout, Charlton, Wrexham, and probably Lincoln, Stockport, and Bolton, Peterborough. They're probably your four you're looking at of sort of, I don't really know which way the game's going to go. I think I have a good idea about most of the other games.
Yeah.
Usually there's 5 or 6 that we don't really know what's going to happen. But who knows? This is the Football League, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not hugely sure, but we'll have to wait and see. But Sam, it's your time to take it away. You take over the trivia corner, don't you? You're our, I don't want to say our resident quiz master, but I'll leave this one with you.
I am our whatever that game show is. I can't remember the geezer's name. I am our the chase man, Bradley Walsh. So I've got 3 little questions for you. Leave your answers down in the comments, or think of your answer, write them on a bit of paper if you're listening to the audio for this week. We will then go to an ad break, and then I will give you the answers. So we've got 3, like I say. So the first one is, this is the first league meeting between Birmingham City and Mansfield Town since what year and month? Let's see if you can get that one. The second one is, which 2 League One clubs have the worst record if games were to end at half time? That is the second question. And based on expected points, which 3 teams are overperforming the most? So, like I say, if you're watching us on YouTube, leave your answers in the comments before I say the answers after this ad break. And if you're listening to the audio, write them down on a bit of paper and make sure you follow us on our social page to get involved in further trivia questions. But now,
Welcome back. Sam, take us away.
So the trivia corner answers. The answer to question 1, which was, this is Birmingham and Mansfield's first league meeting since what year? The answer is April 1991, which ended in a draw. Which 2 League One clubs have the worst record if games were to end at half time? That is Rotherham and Charlton. Both teams with 1 win. Rotherham have 8 draws and 4 losses, and Charlton have 1 win, 7 draws and 4 losses. You could include Crawley Town in there as well, with 1 win, 3 draws and 8 losses as well. Based on expected points, which 3 teams are overperforming the most? Now, this one kind of surprised me, I'm not going to lie, with how big the gap is this early in the season. So the first one who's overperforming most is Wrexham. They have 9 more points than they are expected to. And if they were based on expected points, would be sitting in 15th place, which, to be fair, would probably be all right for a promoted team. The second one is Reading. They have a +8. If they were on their expected points, they would be sitting 21st in League One, which is 14 places lower than they're sitting, which is the biggest gap in terms of too high or too low. And the third one is Mansfield Town. They are overperforming by 8 points as well, and they will be expected to be just above Wrexham in 14th place if we were basing it on expected points.
My favourite team, Mansfield, and that's where we're going to start with, as they welcome Birmingham. Now, Mansfield, a side that I've come in for a lot of stick for. I don't know why. I couldn't really possibly.
This is one particular Mansfield fan who has taken a particular hating to you.
Which, to be fair, is understandable. I mean, if Birmingham, if they do beat Birmingham, then I'll have to apologise, and I probably won't be able to step foot. Is it a city? It's a town, isn't it, Mansfield?
Town, yeah.
It's literally in the name. I won't be able to step foot in Mansfield ever again. So, with that in mind, I just kind of think, but it's Birmingham, innit? Like, if Mansfield Town if Mansfield Town get a result here, then fair shits. But with all greatest respect, Mansfield, no. It'll be, I don't want to say a walk in the park, but 3-1. It's one of them, isn't it? It's Birmingham.
Okay.
And if I don't want to say if Lincoln City lose to Birmingham, then anyone can lose to Birmingham, but it's Birmingham, isn't it? So there you go.
Yeah, I think this is quite a difficult game to judge, because I think Mansfield are very, very strong and have been all season. And fair fucks to Nigel Clough for what he's doing there. Bacchus is the player I've taken a very keen liking to at Mansfield. Extremely good pickup from Scott. I think it was from St Mirren. It was from some team in Scotland, but it's proven to be one of the bargains of the season so far. In terms of Birmingham, I think we've got to give fair praise to Chris Davis in terms of how quickly he's got this team to mould together and completely changed sort of the style of play, because Birmingham have been a very direct team, and now he's completely changed the culture of the club. It's obviously a lot easier when you do have some of, if not the best player in every position in the league. That does help, but that's not to take away credit from him, because it's very easy to have the best players and not get them to perform. So I think we should give some credit to Chris Davis as well. I do think there is still a lot of jealousy from us fans because of how much they can spend because of the amount of revenue they have. I do think they'll beat Mansfield because of the pure quality they have. If this was later on in the season, I think it would be a different story, purely because of how the pitch would dig up at Mansfield. I think we'll start getting some funnier results towards the end of the season, especially with teams like Birmingham, just purely because of the pitches. In the Championship, they're all lovely pitches. In League One, they're not. They're not going to be. So I will go for 2-1 to Birmingham, but I don't think it'll be as straightforward as some people might think.
As I think in particular. The other 12:30 game is Reading against Bristol Rovers. Reading currently sitting 6th in the form guide against the Bristol Rovers side in 9th. So we're two teams, I don't want to say in form, but certainly not out of it. That's in the last 6 games anyway. So, but Reading with the home advantage in this one, I kind of think that'll, I don't want to say pay dividends, but I kind of see it being a 2-0 goal in each half and not really a hugely memorable fixture, I don't think.
I think Reading's home form is excellent. Reading have won 5 of their 6 home games, with the only loss being to Orient. And the away form for Bristol Rovers, they sit 19th with only 1 win from their 6 away games, but they have won 3 of their last 4, with that defeat coming to Huddersfield Town away from home. I think at home, Reading will beat them. And I think we need to give a lot of credit to Ruben Sayers for what he's doing at Reading with all the mayhem that is off the pitch. He's managing to get a group of players that is still a very young, inexperienced group of players, but he's getting the best out of every single one of them. And when you've got somebody like Lewis Wing, who can score from his own half or anywhere on the pitch, you always have a chance of winning football matches. And with that in mind, I will also go for 2-0 to Reading.
Oh, copying my homework. There we go. We'll have a look now at the 3 p.m. kickoffs. Wycombe against Leyton Orient, one side who are 1 point away from the automatic promotion places, one side 1 point away from the automatic relegation places. I wonder which one is which, Sam. Go on.
Thanks for that, Callum. Thanks for that.
I'll let you take this one. Off you go. There you go.
Well, we perform better away from home than we have at home this season. In terms of our away form, we've actually won 2 away from home. One of them being that impressive victory away at Stockport, their only loss of the season. The other one is away at Reading, whose only home loss of the season was to Orient. Wycombe, on the other hand, though, they score goals for fun. They average 2 goals every home game. They've lost 1 at home. They've won 4 and not drawn at home. I think there is vulnerabilities if you can get inside their fullbacks, because they play quite a wide line. But going forward, they are exceptionally good. But we're exceptionally good out of possession, which could nullify them. I don't think it's going to be an exciting game, because we're not that type of team at the moment. We're not open. We're not expansive, where I think Wycombe are. And we're going to try and make... If Wycombe come and play like an Ainsworth Wycombe would, this could be a very scratchy game in terms of... Or scrappy game, not scratchy, in terms of people rolling over, trying to get booking, time wasting everywhere. I think Wycombe will win, and I think they will win 2-1.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that along those sort of lines, but I'll go 2-0 instead.
Okay.
I think just because I don't like you, so I can't see you scoring. I'm joking, Sam. Nothing personal.
To be fair, you predicted us to beat Rotherham 1-0, and I didn't, and that came in. So
there we go. I'm the Leyton Orient expert on this podcast. I don't want to say a relegation 6 points in X, but one game that I think we'd spend a lot more time on if it was just a single game week. But Cambridge United against Burton Albion. Will Burton Albion have that no manager bounce that we tend to see a lot of in League One, because they don't have a manager, so they don't have the pressure of a person to play for? Cambridge, you say, they kind of, like they say, Monk kind of just does these 2 wins on the bounce. So I don't want to say I'm back in the Burton camp, but I can see Burton nicking a 1-0 win here away from home.
I really don't know with this game, because I think they're both turgid, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're both shocking. I will go for a 1-1 draw, I think. I think if any team's going to win, I would back Burton. But Burton I just can't see Burton managing to grind a game out to win because of the lack of confidence in themselves. So I think Burton will lead most of the game, and then Cambridge will come back and level it. But if we're looking at expected points, like I'm referring to many times this week, Burton are bottom. They are bottom of the league.
Yeah.
They should have 10 points, and they've got 4. Cambridge are actually 16th with 15 points. So it's not like Cambridge are playing terribly. They just don't have the quality to finish teams off, mainly.
Yeah. Northampton Crawley is the next game. It's this one again, another crucial one at the bottom. 19th against 21st. If only we knew the side who was in 20th.
Oh, you're wrong one today, aren't you?
I am one. I'm not gonna lie. Everything just seems to be falling into place for an Orient roasting session. Don't try that at home, by the sounds of it. This one though, Northampton at home, but Crawley. With that first win, and quite a dominant win a couple of nights ago against Lincoln. I don't know. Please don't clip me for making sounds. I think I've made a couple of weird sounds through this podcast as well, by the way. So that all might make for an interesting compilation, Mansfield Town fans. But this one, I kind of see... I don't know, really. It's kind of all up in the air for me, Sam.
Yeah, I do agree. Crawley's away form is 1 win and 4 losses. Northampton, on the back of winning their last home game, their home form is 2 wins, 1 draw and 3 losses. So they're pretty poor, both of them at home and away.
Yeah.
Northampton do have a lot of injuries, and their best player, Cameron McGeehan, is suspended after getting 2 yellow cards on Tuesday night. So I am going to back the Red Devils to win, and I am going to back them to win 3-2.
I'll go 2-1. To Crawley. I don't know what. I don't know where this positivity from Crawley has come, but there we go. A game that a couple of weeks ago, I think we did, well, maybe a bit more than a couple of weeks ago, but we'd kind of expected to be one of the top of the table clashes, but it's not now. Well, one of them is, but it's Charlton against Wrexham. This one, Wrexham, you keep on saying a side that shouldn't be where they are, but they're second, but no one really seems to be talking about them. It's a really weird anomaly.
Makes the change.
No, but it's a really weird anomaly. Just everyone seems to have kind of shut up about Wrexham. But I just kind of see them getting another 2-1 win away from home. I'm backing a lot of away sides during this today, but I can just see it.
Well, Wrexham's away form is the 9th best with 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. In their 6 away games, they've scored 4 and conceded 4. Charlton's home form is 3 wins, 2 draws, a loss, 7 goals scored, 4 conceded. I think this will be a really low scoring game. Let's put it that way. It's one of them games where I may actually put 0-0, and I am going to put 0-0. I think Charlton are a decent side defensively. I think Wrexham are a decent side defensively. Do either team excite me going forward? Not really. So I will go for a 0-0.
The return of Big Steve Evans to Stevenage. This one, I don't want to say the game we'd have all dreaded, but I'm glad that this one isn't a TV game. Let's put it that way. It's not going to be a great advertisement for League One football.
I put a TikTok out yesterday. If you're not following us, make sure you are. The TikTok is League One Lowdown. It's scrolling across the bottom of your screen. And I cropped the Rotherham Stevenage game and put a picture of Squidward on there, and he was reading something and crying, saying, "I did it."
Yeah.
Because the ball was going to be up there for most of the game. Neither team has any centre halves, but I think if you're going to back one team, if you're going to back a team to win because they create chances, you're going to probably back Rotherham. But this is a team that Steve Evans had built at Stevenage, but most of them better players are out injured or suspended. So I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for Stevenage to actually get anything from this. But if they do, then I think the atmosphere at the New York Stadium will become very toxic very quickly.
Yeah.
But having said that, I will back Rotherham to win 2-0.
I'll go 1-1. I don't know what it is. I just see it being not a great game, but a 1-1 perhaps, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of giving the away sides the benefit of the doubt a lot of times today. I don't really know why. I don't think I will during this one though. Huddersfield against Exeter. Sam.
Well, obviously Exeter are doing exceptionally well. I think. Well, I've said many times now in recent weeks, Gary Coolwood has a lot of credit. They obviously lost last time out to Reading, which was a surprise result on Tuesday night. They still sit in 6th place with 3 wins from their last 5 games. Scored 13, conceded 8. Joe Whitworth has arguably been the best goalkeeper in League One this season. Exceptional loan signing from Crystal Palace. Great bit of recruitment from the Grecians. Huddersfield, however, my expected points table's coming back again. They would be top. Huddersfield Town. Obviously, they had that little spell where they lost 3, I think it was, in a row. And we're all out there questioning how good they actually are. Won 2 of their last 3, drawing the other one. They seem to have got their little bit of mojo back. In terms of home form, Huddersfield's is the 6th best, 4 wins and 2 losses. And in terms of away form, Exeter's is the 7th best, 3 wins, a draw and 2 defeats. But I do think Huddersfield just have too much quality, and I've gone for a 2-0 to Huddersfield.
That's annoying, because that's kind of what I had in my head. I don't know. I kind of back Exeter to maybe get a goal, but I kind of like that 2-goal cushion. I think that'll be it. So I'll go 3-1. There we go.
Oh. Okay.
I'm back to home side. I'm going to do it again. Lincoln against Stockport. I think that if Lincoln had got a result in midweek, there'd have been a lot less pressure on this game. But that's back-to-back defeat for the Imps, which is something I can't remember saying for quite a long time, really, off the top of my head anyway. So back-to-back defeat for Lincoln against a Stockport side that have slipped to 15th in the form table.
Undefeated away from home. Stockport.
Yeah. I don't know. I just back Lincoln. I just always do. I kind of have to have that positivity, I suppose. Else, I don't know what's football. So I'll go with 2-0.
Okay. Yeah, no chance I'm going for 2-0 to you to beat Stockport. Stockport's away form is very drawy. 2 wins, 4 draws. And your home form is actually 17th best in the league. 2 wins, a draw and 2 losses. But you have played 1 game less than most teams. I think it will be a draw. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I can't see Stockport not scoring, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I also think you're pretty decent, pretty handy on the counter-attack. So, and that's pretty much how we played against them. So
I just think there's a lot of pressure on Lincoln to get a result. So that's kind of where I base it off.
Season-defining games, I think we call these, don't we?
Yeah. I think they're normally quite good under a bit of pressure. So anyway, Bolton against Peterborough. One would have imagined this to be a promotion game at the start of the season, but it's a mid-table scrap. 12th place Peterborough, 14th place Bolton. Although Bolton up to 4th in the form guide, Peterborough again just 14th. Peterborough, they're not getting that form going that we expected them to at all. So this one for me kind of feels, don't want to say nailed on, because this is Peterborough. Anything can happen. But I'll go 3-1 Bolton.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I think it will be a high-scoring contest. Peterborough 6th in expected points and Bolton's at 8th. So, to be fair, both teams are underachieving in terms of statistics. Peterborough have scored 25 goals and Bolton have scored 17. Bolton have conceded 18 and Peterborough have conceded 25. There is no way that there is not at least 4 goals in this game.
100%.
Now we've said this, it's going to be 0-0, isn't it?
It's going to be a 0-0, yeah.
I do think Bolton will win, and I think they will win 3-2.
Close.
Mm.
Finally, the final Saturday game is Shrewsbury against Barnsley. Not Burnley, as I seem to want to have said earlier in this podcast. But Shrewsbury, currently 22nd. Barnsley made their way back up to 8th. It's just how tight it is in the league, isn't it? That one win, can take you from Huddersfield in 5th all the way down to, where is it? Bristol Rovers in 15th. Just one win. That's just 3 points, isn't it? So, who knows? But I kind of back Barnsley 2-0, maybe. Yeah, we'll go 2-0.
Yeah, I've backed Barnsley 3-0. Barnsley have the 3rd best away record in the league, 4 wins and 2 defeats. It's their home form that lets Barnsley down. In terms of home form, Shrewsbury are 23rd. The only team worse than them at home is Burton.
And then we come to the Monday night game, I believe. Not sure if this is... I think it's an 8 o'clock kickoff, this one. It is Wigan. They are travelling to Blackpool, which I suppose is a bit of a... I don't want to say a derby. They're quite close, aren't they? Wigan and
one's
Lancashire, aren't they? They're both Lancashire, so... That's kind of why they've chose it, I suppose, from all the games this weekend. It has that geographical relationship. So there we go. Not hugely close on the map, though. But anyway, Blackpool, Wigan. Sam, your thoughts?
Well, Wigan are on the back of 2 defeats, 1 win in 5. There's now going to be, I think, a little bit of pressure building on Sean Maloney. Obviously, off the pitch, Wigan are a lot more of a stable club than they were 2 or 3 years ago. But results have been, I think it's fair to say, poor. 10 goals in 12 games, but defensively they are pretty strong, bar the last 2 games. We obviously lost Charlie Hughes in the summer as well from their defence in terms of Blackpool. I mean, they're now back down in 16th place, but like you say, a win could catapult them from 16th to probably 11th. But they do score goals as well, Blackpool, but they also concede them. I am going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think Blackpool, they've got that raw quality that I don't know if a Wigan side does have. No offence to them, but I'll go 2-1 Blackpool, I think. They need a result soon. That pressure will start to build up the longer it waits. But yeah, I'll go 2-1. Sam, finally, what's your game of the weekend? Where will your eyes be? Away from your own side, where will your eyes be peeled?
Well, when we're 2-0 down after 5 minutes and I'm in the crowd, I'm going to the game. I've never been to Wycombe, so I'm going there. So I'll just be on my phone going, I'm
this place is boring, yeah.
Yeah. I think the game of the weekend is Bolton Peterborough.
Okay.
For me.
Interesting.
It's exciting.
I just quite like the Cambridge Burton game. I think that's going to be kind of like the no gloves on. Obviously, say both sides lacking in quality, but it's kind of like just both sides have got to go for it. I feel like that'll be the mantra. But that's it for this League One Lowdown preview show. Thank you so much, Sam, for your time. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you next week.